Hey, we're the Kanpai guys. Thank you very much for joining us today. I'm Alex.
I'm David.
Today we're doing our second tier list. So David, what are we covering today?
Slashers.
In your opinion, what is the greatest slasher movie of all time? Or greatest franchise? Whichever.
I'd specifically categorize slashers as with that kind of knife.
I guess first we should try to define
From
what a slasher movie is.
the action of slashing.
I guess sometimes it can be hacking or...
It's got to have a knife or some blade. The killer is just relentless in their killing.
Obviously, the movie genre is called a slasher, which makes you think like a sharp object, like a blade. But I guess the main point of the genre is having, a killer who's after you, like you said, someone who's relentless.
Yeah. In the Scream series, they go through all the tropes of a slasher movie.
Are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
Don't go to the toilet. Don't go for a slash alone. Don't walk home alone, don't leave the group, etc.
I think they also said don't have sex, don't do drugs, because
you'll die. Yeah,
you end up dying.
But for me, I always see slashers as masked psychos just going on murder rampages.
Recently I watched a slasher movie, Hush. I know you've seen it as well. We talked about it.
We talked about it on the first or second Flood of Content podcast, I think.
Overall, I thought it was a pretty standard slasher. The only thing that I really didn't like about it was the fact that the villain in the movie, pretty early in the movie, he just takes his mask off. Not really terrifying at all. No. It took away all the suspense.
I felt for me that one was more like a home invasion movie. In a traditional slasher movie, it's not about them going after one person, right? It's them killing a lot of people and then usually there's one person left.
Checking off a list.
Right.
Yeah.
It's usually the final girl, right, is the trope too. There's always a girl who's alive at the end. Jamie Lee Curtis has been, surviving since the 70s, I guess. So.
Surviving since the 70s.
Just rename the whole franchise.
Jamie Lee was always the virgin in horror movies. She never showed her tits till she went legit.
That should be her Twitter bio or something.
It probably is.
Surviving since the 70s.
By the way, let's do a Kanpai.
I'm drinking a Heineken today.
For a minute, I thought you were drinking a Rolling Rock. So I had that green glass, but they're hard to get. So.
Dude, I wish I could find a Rolling Rock over here. I've never seen Rolling Rock in Japan.
Today I picked up Premium Abyss White. It's re-released today. So.
Dude, that's one of my favorites. I love that white Abyss.
Yeah. Chug, chug, chug. Another thing you have to do in slasher movies. You got to chug.
Butt chug. So here's our tier list. We have 4 levels, and then we have 1 tier for slasher villains that we don't really know or we haven't seen the movies that they're from. So our top level is Nightmare Fuel. This would be best of the best. 1 level down is Sleep Tight. Then we have Flawed Felon. Next is Cheesus Maximus. I guess these would be slasher villains that, aren't scary at all. You see them and you just kind of laugh.
Come on, dude. You just turn around and walk home. Just walk away.
Okay. Our first one for today is Mr. Krueger.
One of the classics. How many Nightmare
Everybody knows Freddy Krueger.
Movies have you seen?
I've seen the first one only, I think. So yeah, David, in your opinion, since you've seen the entire series, what do you think about Freddy Krueger?
He's one of the most inventive characters in the slasher genre. You know, with like the whole like how he morphs into like other things. Like he can be a TV, or he can be a monster, or he can be a snake or something.
Right. Yeah. And he like enters your dreams. So
he's actually physically in this realm. He's in the dream realm, so he has supernatural powers.
I guess in the dream theater, so to speak, anything is within his reach.
Do you know Dennis the
Anything
Menace?
is doable. Of course I do. Yeah.
So because he has the same like jumper, that always made him a little unscary to me at times. Like Dennis the Menace is just like a douchey like.
He has the same jumper as Dennis the Menace.
It does, yeah. That red and it's very similar. I don't know if Dennis the Menace is his vertical lines, but he has like red and black.
Oh my god,
stripe.
I've never made that connection before.
So yeah, I heard recently that Robert Englund kind of thought it was funny that Freddy Krueger wears a hat because like 90% of his body is burnt. It's like, what's the point of wearing that?
It's kind of a good point. It's like when your whole body looks like a ball sack, like what's the point?
I guess it's maybe fashionable. I don't know. Who's to judge?
I guess so, yeah. I was gonna say recently those wide-brimmed hats are kind of becoming in fashion in Japan. Everyone's copying the Freddy Krueger style.
So what are you feeling? Where would you put Freddy Krueger on this list? I think he has to go quite high, you know.
Not nightmare fuel for me. Some of the things he like manifests into are kind of funny. Like they're not super frightening to me.
I think that's intentional. They're played like for laughs, I think, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking either Sleep Tight or Flawed Felon. Like he's super iconic, but at the same time, I've never lost sleep over the thought of Freddy Krueger either. Despite the fact that like he attacks people in their sleep.
I think the movies are really cool, but I don't think he's so scary, to be honest. But you know, the finger knives are pretty badass, I think.
Yeah, I really love his design. Like he's a badass.
Very unique looking character.
I guess for me, I'll say Flawed Felon.
Yeah, I can agree.
David, what are you thinking?
I can agree with that.
Okay. All right. Next, we have our old friend.
A very little known character in the slasher genre.
That's right. From this little known indie flick called Halloween. For me, this is easy, and this is straight up nightmare fuel.
He is very scary.
He doesn't seem to ever die.
He can't die, right? He's like pure evil.
Yeah, pure evil. He doesn't speak, which is pretty frightening. And he had a fucked up childhood. Also, like, if you just imagine this character like in the corner of a dark room, like I think anyone would shit themselves.
He's scary in all iterations of Halloween, I think. So the Rob Zombie ones, the recent reboots.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Myers. You are indeed nightmare fuel. Next one. I'll be honest, I have no idea who this is.
Candyman.
The Handyman.
Come on in. I'm not really sure exactly what's really wrong with the cable.
That's why they sent me. I am an expert.
Candyman.
Oh, this one here? Candyman?
That's Candyman.
Oh, okay. Is that from a slasher franchise or?
The original movie's very famous. I'm not sure if there are sequels to that movie, but a recent Jordan Peele produced one came out. The Get Out Dude.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I actually watched it the other day. I watched it last week. But yeah, I do like the original one. He is quite scary. So he has a hook for a hand, as you can see. And
looks like a very meaty hook. It kind of looks like he got his hand severed off and he just stuck a metal hook into it.
That's exactly what happened, yeah.
Yeah, awesome.
He's kind of like a urban myth character. Back in the day, he was tortured. He had his hand cut off, as you can see. This hook put in. I think they then covered him in bees and honey, so all the bees would sting him, and then they burnt him alive. So,
it kind of took a weird Wicker Man turn.
Oh, the bees! Oh, the bees!
The bees! I'll be completely honest. Just looking at his picture on here, he doesn't seem very frightening at all. He seems like a normal dude from some suspense movie.
The way he appears is kind of frightening. So you have to invite him in basically To invite him
I see.
in, you have to say his name 5 times in the mirror, and then he'll come get you.
So do you just say Candyman
5 times in the mirror. Occasionally, like he
comes
looks
in and gives you some candy.
Well, the reason he's called Candyman is because when he was alive, he's not the original guy who died. Like he's been like reincarnated over the centuries, and the more recent version was giving out candy to kids with razor blades in.
Oh,
But it turns out that he maybe was set up, that he wasn't putting razor blades in the candy.
So it's kind of like, I think of like Beetlejuice or like the Xenobites from Hellraiser in England, but in the States, like kids growing up, they play this game called Bloody Mary.
Yeah, like that.
Where they go in the bathroom, turn the lights off, and they splash water on the mirror, and they say Bloody Mary like a couple times, and like supposedly a ghost comes.
I think that's in the Paranormal Activity movies, that Bloody Mary thing.
Alright, you want to play Bloody Mary? Let's play Bloody Mary.
He's pretty scary. I would put him like Flawed Felon, personally. He does have a slightly cheesy voice. He speaks in like a deep voice.
Like a deep like Christian Bale Batman voice, or
like that a little bit, yeah.
Okay. Next one,
Chucky.
we have Chucky. Look at those overalls he has on.
He's a good guy.
It says good guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. Chucky, man. I've seen like the original movies. I would never call those movies scary, really. I think they're like good, like popcorn horror flicks. Do you have any opinions on Chucky?
I think the movies are fun, as you said. I don't find them scary either. I've never had nightmares over Chucky.
In fact, my wife, she finds Chucky like adorable. Like she has little Chucky figures.
I guess that's the clever point of the character, right? If he existed, you would find him adorable, and then you turn around and he just slashes your neck.
That's how he gets you.
The actual person inside him, the evil spirit, is quite scary, right? He's like a serial killer.
Yeah, the actual person, or like the actual soul inside of him, is much darker than his like avatar.
Yeah,
his little Chucky doll is.
And he's voiced by the actor who is the police officer in Rob Zombie's Halloween movies. And that actor also appears in Exorcist 3 as well. Brad Dourif.
Dang. I still haven't seen Exorcist 3 yet.
And in one of the more recent Child's Play movies, the real actor's daughter is playing the main character.
Oh, you mean like the original voice actor's daughter?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Huh. I'm thinking
Flawed
Felon or Cheesus Maximus. If I were to put Chucky here, it's not a jab, it's not an insult. I just mean like it's funny. It's fun to watch. Where would you place Chucky?
Around about where we have him now. So Flawed Felon or Cheesus Maximus. Yeah.
I guess we gotta tip it one way or the other. I'm gonna dig in for Cheesus Maximus.
Okay. We gotta put someone there. So okay.
Our next guy.
Sailor.
I have no idea what this guy's name is, but he's from I Know What You Did Last Summer, I believe.
I have not seen that movie since it came out.
Me neither.
It came out a while ago. It's a 90s movie.
To be honest, yeah, it's like a typical like slasher movie aimed at like teens.
I Know What You Did Last Summer was written by the original Scream writer, the guy who wrote the first Scream.
Okay, yeah, it looks like it's I Know What You Did Last Summer. And the character's name is Ben Willis, though he's known as the Fisherman. I can't for the life of me remember much about that movie at all.
Haven't seen. Don't know. This women don't know, I guess.
I would have to put it here. The next one, we have the Ghostface Killer.
Ghostface. Are you a fan of the Scream movies?
Yeah, I like him a lot. It's kind of weird to think that the Scream movies are now classics.
Yeah.
Like the 90s were not recently. It's been a while.
I think one of the Scream movies was one of the first horror movies I saw in the theatre. But I was actually underage at the time. Like, we were able to snuck into it.
I think I saw it for the first time probably on VHS. Like I think one of my friends had it. We watched it on probably his old like TV VCR.
I think that the very first scene from the very first Scream movie is still one of the best slasher horror scenes.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes?
Who is this?
She's in her house and you can see him through like the glass door.
Yeah, and she's like talking to him on the phone.
I would put him up here at Sleep Tight.
Really? Sleep tight. He's weaker.
Before you mentioned the aspect of like home invasions, I think this movie and this slasher villain pulls that fear off really well. So I'll put him here at Sleep Tight.
I think one of the scarier aspects is that he is definitely human, right? He seems hurtable.
In that aspect though, it's kind of like, it almost feels like watching Scooby-Doo or something. because you know it's somebody. It's not like some monster or some demonic thing. It's somebody. And like by the end they find out who it is, right?
Mm-hmm. But it makes
Knowing
you feel more like he could like enter your house. There are many copycat versions of him in the franchise as well.
I'm borderline Sleep Tight and Flawed Villain, but if you're leaning towards Flawed Villain, then I guess that's where it'll go. Next. Okay. we have quite the list coming up. Okay, next we have Hannibal.
We've got Hannibal Lecter, but we don't have Buffalo Bill.
Right. I'll just put this out here. If Buffalo Bill were on this list, he would be
Like he's Nightmare Fuel.
either Nightmare Fuel or like one above.
What scares me about Hannibal Lecter is he's like very intelligent and very rational, but then does really
very calculating,
messed up. He kills people in really messed up ways, almost like an animal would kill someone. Like he can't control that animalistic urge. Hence why he wears this, like they put this mask on him, and his eyes are very like piercing. Right?
He might be like the deepest character on this list, to be honest.
He's not just like a killing machine or something. I think if he, like, he's one of those villains, if he came to get me, I don't think there's any way of like surviving.
Yeah, I think you would be outsmarted on like every turn.
Like Michael Myers, he could probably just like run out the front door and just keep running.
With Michael Myers, you could just like jump on a plane and like go chill somewhere, and then he would have no idea, right?
You could probably
with Hannibal Lecter,
cross state lines in America. Gotcha.
Yeah, Hannibal Lecter though would be able to like actually track you down.
Yeah, wherever you went, he would find you.
Nightmare Fuel?
Yeah, I'm between the two on him. Sleep Tight, just to put one in there.
I think I can agree with that.
Just on the subject of Buffalo Bill, did you know that you can actually stay in Buffalo Bill's house?
Fuck that, dude. I would never do that.
You can. You can go in the basement as well.
I would never do that.
So there's this.
Would you?
There's this guy, and he was living like a few towns away, and he found out that I saw this on another YouTube. He found out that the Buffalo Bill house was actually up for sale, and he thought he could like turn it into like a hotel or something. Get all the Silence of the Lambs fans in.
That's a really good way to make money.
He put an offer in, and yeah, now you can like stay in any room, and everywhere's got like Silence of the Lambs stuff, and he's just got the movie playing 24/7 on a TV in the living room. And you can go in the basement, and you can put on like the dressing gown.
I'm glad that exists, but I'll keep it at a safe distance for me.
And you know, one of the victims' houses as well, like she goes to the victim's house to try and find Buffalo Bill. And that's an actual house they filmed in. And like the wallpaper the crew used is like still there. Like the people who live there didn't change the wallpaper or anything. Which is pretty interesting.
That is one type of movie that like always gets me.
Silence of the Lambs?
Is the movies like Silence of the Lambs, where it's about, you know, like a serial killer type character that like holds people captive, like in like secret dungeons, you know. That kind of stuff happens in real life.
It does, yeah.
Our next guy from The Shining,
Jack Torrance.
I know you personally love this movie. I love it as well. I would put him pretty up there. Not Nightmare Fuel.
I would put the person in the bear costume giving the butler a blowjob. I'd put that bear above Nightmare Fuel on that list.
Really? Is that a joke or are you serious?
No, I'm joking. I'm not joking. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
That bear's like
That
one of the
scene,
scariest
like,
things in the movie.
That's so interesting. Yeah, for me, that scene like always makes me either go like, huh? Or it makes me laugh.
Yeah, I was kind of like,
scene...
huh? And why are they there?
Yeah.
Just like the idea that you're in an abandoned hotel that no one can go, and there's someone just in a bear costume in a random room.
Right.
I mean, that would scare the crap out of you if that really happened to you, right? If you saw that.
Oh, of course.
Right.
I think for me, the woman with the like boils on her skin.
The woman in the bathtub in 237.
In the bathtub. Yeah. I would put her probably Nightmare Fuel
I
level.
think that's the scariest scene in the movie.
Jack Torrance, though.
Jack Torrance is kind of funny, and he kind of like fucks it up. So,
if you want to break down his character, like he is a flawed person, right? I mean, he's an alcoholic who, like, you know, hurts his family. I'd say sleep tight.
he's not an effective killer because he's possessed by like a hotel. So he can't he almost can't make his own decisions. He's just kind of homing in on.
Yeah, he's kind of a pawn.
Yeah.
Right. He's a pawn of the hotel.
Yeah. So that makes him like, it's very easy to get away from him. I mean, he's like outsmarted by like everyone. But if you came face to face with him in the hotel, he would be scary, I think.
Yeah.
I'd put him in sleep
Especially
tight,
towards the end.
Right.
Jason, I would say is sleep tight.
Yeah, he's quite scary. Right.
He's another one of those silent hunter types. Not quite the same level as Michael Myers, but still pretty freaky.
Yeah.
Had issues as a child.
Slightly different in that his childhood, like, you are kind of sympathetic to what happened to him. You know, like a lot of wrong things were done to him. He wasn't like born evil like Michael Myers.
Right. Yeah, that's another big difference. Like Michael Myers is like Satan incarnate, right? Probably one of the reasons why I put Freddy Krueger in flawed villain. I find like slasher villains much more frightening when they don't speak. But Freddy Krueger speaks, right?
A lot.
So yeah, a lot. So you know much more about him.
And he's like constantly like making jokes and like puns and wisecracks and things.
Like he actually has a personality, whereas like Michael Myers, like you have no idea, right?
He's like what makes the Terminator scary.
Yeah. But even the Terminator has more personality than like Michael Myers does.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Okay,
So this
our
dude
next
has
one.
a big personality either.
I think this dude has a mama complex. Okay, our next guy is Leatherface. Now for me, Leatherface, I think you may agree with me, David, or you may not, I'm not sure, but I would put Leatherface right up here next to Michael Myers.
I would, yeah.
Like for me, Leatherface is like a combination between Michael Myers and Buffalo Bill. What I mean by that is on one end you have Michael Myers that's like a cold-blooded killer. On the other end you have someone who like has all this horrible stuff in their house. It's like kept secret, nobody knows about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Leatherface is kind of like right in between those two. You know?
Leatherface is kind of based on Ed Gein, right? The real serial killer. He's kind of a dumbass, right? He's not like an intelligent serial killer.
Probably like inbred level, yeah.
Right. So he's got that like Michael Myers like relentless killing machine kind of vibe about him.
Next we have, I'd assume this is the Leprechaun, right?
That's Leprechaun, yeah. I've only seen
the character.
the first one.
I know the character, but I haven't seen the movies. One of the Leprechaun movies, I think maybe number 2, it's famous for having like really funny lines. I think like the Garbage Day line, isn't that from Leprechaun?
It's Garbage Days from Silent Night, Deadly Night, the Santa Claus one.
Oh, okay.
The first one has Jennifer Aniston in one of her earliest roles.
What's going on? We gave him his gold.
Jeez, really?
It's very cheesy.
I kind of imagine so, yeah.
He's kind of creepy. Coming from someone who's seen it, I would put him like Cheesus Maximus.
I was assuming that, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Next, we have Pennywise. For this one, let's just... I don't know, because technically there have been 2 Pennywises now. There's the Tim Curry Pennywise and then the Skarsgård Pennywise.
Do you like the new
Pennywise,
movies?
I didn't find them like super frightening, but they did have some like pretty tense moments. For some reason, like I kept thinking of like Stranger Things when I was watching. I think because it has one of the actors from Stranger Things in it.
Probably also because it's set in the 80s, like the kids.
Yeah. Right.
And they're like a group of kids. They're a group of kids like dealing with like true horror, like truly adult horror.
Mm-hmm. I think for the original like made-for-TV movie with Tim Curry and the newer series, I think in both cases probably the first installment is the best. Like when they're still kids. I would put Pennywise up here at Sleep Tight. I find him more effective than Freddy Krueger. They try to become something that like really gets into like your psyche, you know? Though I just find Pennywise to be less cheesy than Freddy Krueger. So for this one, I've only seen the first Hellraiser. We talked about it on on the podcast. And in that movie, he had kind of like a minor role in the movie. He wasn't like the main character or anything like that.
I think you have the impression that he's the main character in those movies because he's always on the poster.
I find his appearance and like the whole aspect of like the Xenobites, like demons,
minions of hell. Or...
Minions of hell, yeah.
The box. You opened it. We came.
It's just a puzzle box!
It's kind of like a frightening concept.
Like how they torture people and how they kill people is kind of scary. So in Hellraiser 2, the Cenobites appear in a hospital, and the daughter from the first movie, they say like, "We will show you all the deepest parts of hell" or something. "We have great things to show you," which means like torture and nightmares and things. Then they go through this wall, and there's just this really dumb like monster that chases after them.
I think that's in Hellraiser 1.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
they promise such evil things, and it's just like a dumb monster. So
I do remember that being kind of like a letdown. I think Pinhead and the other Xenobites are in no way cheesy, so I'm thinking at least flawed.
I don't have nightmares about Pinhead.
Right.
I do have nightmares about like the chains like coming out and ripping you to pieces. That's kind of scary.
I would say a flawed villain. Okay, so next, I'll be honest, I'm not really familiar with any of these.
Well, the next two we could just put in haven't seen, because we have Pumpkinhead, I think this is, and that's on my watch list. And the next one is Trick or Treat, which I think I've seen, but I really don't have any strong memories from it. The next one is the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers.
Okay, Jeepers Creepers. Now, is that a franchise or is that like a one-off movie?
I think there was a sequel to it.
I saw the Jeepers Creepers movie from the 90s.
That's it, yeah.
Or like the early 2000s. I saw that. As a little kid, it was kind of freaky, but
Yeah,
I think if I were to go back and watch it now, it would be kind of maybe milquetoast.
I have gone back to watch it. He is still a little freaky. Like where he lives, like his lair is quite scary. I don't think he's as scary as the flawed felon guys. So we could put him in Cheesus Maximus. So this is The Strangers.
I've heard of it before, but I don't know anything about it.
I think there are two of them. So there's The Strangers from 2008. Liv Tyler is in that one, actually. There's another one from 2018. And the director of that one directed the new Resident Evil movie.
Is that the one on Netflix right now? Yeah.
The one we did the trailer for on the show. The Welcome to Raccoon City movie.
Okay.
And he also directed the 47 Meters Down movies, the shark movies. Yeah.
If you were to compare this guy to like others on this list, who do you think he's like?
He's not really like any of them because he has a group with him, a gang.
Okay, so he goes in a group.
Yeah, they're like in a gang and they all wear masks and they just like get off on killing people. The first one is like a home invasion movie. So, I mean, the concept is quite scary. Like, there's absolutely no reason why these people are in your house. They just want to kill you. I'd put him in Flawed Felon, actually.
Does he, like, talk at all, or is he, like, a silent character?
No, they never talk. Even if you attack them back, like, burn them, stab them, they just keep coming.
I think I might enjoy that movie.
Yeah.
I feel like after watching it, I might feel
you could
he'd be around here.
Yeah.
Possibly.
It's definitely scarier than Hush.
Yeah, Hush wasn't really scary. It had some suspenseful moments, but other than that, David, it looks like we have finished our tier list. Yeah. Well, I think it looks pretty accurate.
Michael Myers and Leatherface reign supreme. They don't all fit like slasher movies. Like, these are kind of just like famous horror iconic characters. Where would you put like Reagan from The Exorcist?
Oh, dude, she would be either Nightmare Fuel or one above for me. I lost so much sleep over that movie as a kid.
How about if we put a Japanese one like Sadako or something on here?
Sadako?
I guess you can't use Sadako because she doesn't use a weapon, although
right.
Pennywise doesn't really use weapons either. Right?
Yeah, this isn't the perfect list, but if we were to, like, you know, flex it a bit, if we were to add Sadako, I would say that's really tough because I love the movie, but I don't know if she's as frightening as, like, say, Leatherface.
I would put the girl from Audition as Nightmare Fuel.
Oh, yeah. No question. Easily. Sadako, I might put Sleep Tight. I love her as a character, but if I'm just ranking her scariness, I guess, Sleep Tight.
Well, I guess we should ask our viewers, so how do you guys think we did? Would you agree with this list? You know, if you would move anyone, would you put Leprechaun as Nightmare Fuel?
Looks like we go.
Maybe you just hate leprechauns. I don't know.
I have a feeling if anybody has any complaints, it might be over some of the people we put in Flawed Felon.
Sure. Yeah.
Like the Scream Killer, maybe Freddy Krueger. Some people might think that Jack Torrance is higher up. Again, thank you very much for tuning in this time. If you're not subscribed yet, please consider subscribing to our channel. If you do subscribe, don't forget to hit the notification bell. And until next time.
See ya.
See ya.
Don't let the bed bugs bite.